notification. It says we're live now. And I see it. At least it's working. I was kind of worried that we were going to have a slow upload speed. Good morning, everybody. If you are on the stream, thanks for tuning in. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes. If you've checked us out before, you know that we like to go live a little before we actually start to give people a chance to jump on here. So, again, thanks for tuning in. If you're on the stream, let us know. We're going to recap AEW and NXT from last night, and then, more importantly, at least in my opinion, we're going to talk about the Benoit documentary that was on a couple of nights ago. Actually, part 1 was released on YouTube a week ago, so a lot of people watched that ahead of time. But once again, if you're on the stream, thanks for hanging out with us. We're going to get started right at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, so that'll be in about 3 or 4 minutes. If you are on the stream, say hi, let us know that you're here. Again, we appreciate you tuning in. We're going to get started in about 3 minutes. Hey, Mark, what's going on, man? Mark, we need to have you on sometime. Seriously, we need to like Skype you in or something. Like I said, guys, if you're just tuning in, thanks for joining us. We're going to get started in about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to get started right at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, sharp. Let us know what you thought of AEW last night. Let us know what you thought of NXT last night. And especially let us know what you thought about the Benoit documentary if you've watched it, because that's what we're going to cover this morning. Yeah, Mark, I hear you. I'm gonna be working from home probably. What would that look like? So Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays I'm gonna be working from home, but I'll be here in the office and in the studio Mondays and Thursdays, so we're able to do our show from here. Yeah, Mark. Once we're done, I'll shoot you a private message and we'll get that set up. We'll get that figured out because, I want to start having guests on, especially, guys like you that are more knowledgeable about just history of wrestling in general. I mean, I know some stuff, but, definitely not as much as you. So yeah, we'll get that figured out. So again, if you're on the stream, if you're just tuning in, we're going to get started in about another minute. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll get started shortly. Again, let us know what you thought of AEW and NXT last night. Let us know what you thought about the Benoit documentary if you've watched it. That's what we're going to talk about. So again, we're going to get started in about 30 or 40 seconds. Hey, Thomas. Good morning, buddy. Once again, guys, thanks for tuning in. We're going to get started very shortly, probably 15, 20, 30 seconds maybe. Just as soon as it hits 9 a.m. Central on my end, we're going to get started. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the return of the Going Broadway podcast from the studio, as you all are used to, as you all know it. I'm Alex. Cole has returned as well. Cole, what's happening?
I am glad to be back here with the Going Broadway podcast. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. It's felt like a minute for me, and then I did a show from home on Monday, which, I mean, it was rough.
You got to do what you got to do sometimes.
I mean, like literally, instead of having the soundboard, I'm taking my mic, putting it up to the computer speakers, putting it up to the phone, trying to pull up sound bites, and it just wasn't working. So whenever I found out I'm still able to come in on Mondays and Thursdays, work from here and do the show, I was quite ecstatic about that. So, yeah, like I said, we'll be back here every Monday and Thursday now going forward. The house shows edition, as it were, was a one-time thing. There's quite a bit to talk about. I mean, even besides the recaps of AEW and NXT, besides the recap of the Benoit documentary on the Vice Network, there's a few things I wanted to bring up. So let's talk about WrestleMania and what I'd like to say what's going on with that as far as what we think's going on with it, but I don't think anybody really knows. I mean, it's
do they know?
Well, exactly. I mean, I think from WWE standpoint, they're probably just like, all right, well, we're going to record all this so we can pretty much do whatever we want thanks to the editing options that they have, because it's not going to be live. So I initially read that it was going to be recorded today and tomorrow. All WWE programming has to be done by tomorrow at 11 p.m. because they're in Orlando, and that's when their shelter in place or lockdown, whatever, is supposed to start. But then I also read yesterday that they had already recorded some of WrestleMania. They'd already shot some of the show. Now I don't know if that means they've shot some of the matches or just vignettes. I don't know. But as of this morning, I've not read any kind of spoilers. Even if there were spoilers, guys, I would not share them with you. I know how much it sucks to, have spoilers for those of you that are so ecstatic to watch WrestleMania, because I know there's a ton of people out there that this is their year. This is this is easily the most some of you have looked forward to a WrestleMania in years. So I promise I will not spoil that.
Too big for one night.
Exactly. Which is funny because it's like, because they have the option to edit, they could do it in one night and it wouldn't matter.
Right. It's a good call, though. Just with the
I agree.
The empty arena, you would get really bored with 7 hours of empty arena.
Well, even if you condensed it to 5 hours, it would still be.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it's easily going to be 5 hours between the two nights combined. So, just a couple quick comments. Hey, Brian. Good morning. Thomas thought the Benoit documentary was very well done. Sad and hard to watch at times. 100% agree. Especially if you're a parent. It was, to be quite open and honest and frank about it, it was well, I mean, you said it best. It was tough to watch. It was emotional, but still a must watch in my opinion. So as far as WrestleMania, again, it's supposed to be recorded today and tomorrow. Supposedly some of it was recorded yesterday, but we'll see. Or maybe we won't see. Maybe they're just gonna kind of like Cole said, they may record some of what would be broadcasted on the Saturday night and some of what would be broadcasted on the Sunday night. They could have done some of that yesterday, which, to me wouldn't make sense. It almost make just as much sense to record sequentially how you're going to air it on the broadcast, but WWE has not doesn't fail to surprise me. So, speaking of WrestleMania, a couple quick stories I wanted to mention. The first ties back into WrestleMania 31 when Sting made his WWE wrestling debut against Triple H. Now, Cole, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a story that came out, and it was actually during his podcast. Arn Anderson, he was critical of the match between Sting and Triple H. Number one, he made the comments that it was far too late in their careers for it to not necessarily to mean something, but it didn't have as much significance. But based on what Arn Anderson said in this podcast, he thought it was very clear that they were trying to bury Sting, that they're purposely trying to make him not look like a star. And so I'll just read, a couple quick comments that he made on this podcast. He thought it was 15 years too late. We can all look back at want-to-be's, and I'm a guy that thinks Taker should still be riding his wave of his undefeated streak. That's just me. You only get one crack at some stuff. Sting being the last holdout would have been nice if Sting would have come across when WCW was done and be pushed like the star that he was. He later said, try to reset the audience to basically put it in perspective. He said all it did was give the announcers basically, so the announcers are being fed stuff in their earpieces from McMahon, just one-liners, what to say, whatever. And the comments that they made was meant to bury Sting. The quotes were minnow in a big pond, guy's out of his element, you're just a small minnow in a huge lake, you're at WrestleMania now, stuff like that. So, we won the war. We're WWE. We won the war. Here's your big star, WCW. Well, he ain't a big star here tonight. And watching WrestleMania 31 at the time, and, well, I don't know if I watched it live, but whenever I did watch it, I didn't necessarily think that those comments were trying to bury Sting. I think it was just meant to play off that WWE, WCW, or, well, WWF at the time, WCW rivalry. But then I went back and I watched it again, and I can see what Arn Anderson's saying, because, again, a lot of those comments were made by JBL during the broadcast. If you're JBL and you're just, you're told ahead of time before you go out there, this is what you need to do as far as the storyline, you need to say stuff like this. But if you're being fed those lines directly from Vince McMahon from the back, I can see what Arn Anderson's talking about. And to me, this almost plays into, or correlates with, I should say, Sting's initial fear of why he didn't want to go to WWE in the first place, because he felt he wouldn't be used correctly. He'd be viewed as a WCW guy. And I think I agree with Arn Anderson after reading this. What are your thoughts on that?
I would like to hear what Sting would have to say about it from his perspective, because my thought is this. I mean, a lot of these guys, when they get further into their career, they start to want to put other guys over. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that Triple H is a guy that needed to be put over. That specific match, obviously, he doesn't need to be put over in that match because of how late he is in his career as well. But I think Sting came back under the impression, I'm here to put storylines over. I'm not here to build Sting anymore, because Sting is built, done, and pretty much over with. Sting had his best years at Impact, as far as late career goes, and spent a lot of time there doing stuff there. So I think when Sting came back, the contingency was, hey, we'll put you in the Hall of Fame. We'll do right by you and end your career here, and make sure that you get to end your career as a WWE superstar, and give you the legend contract and all that good stuff. But on the contingency that you're going to come back and you're going to put over the storylines that we have. And so I think it was crucial that he needed to lose to Triple H for those storylines to work. It gave a lot of clout to that authority storyline, to all that. So I get where Arn Anderson's coming from. I think it's biased from the standpoint that they want to bury WWE as well. So I think sometimes they go digging a little deeper than what something might be. Could see where it's coming from. That's why I'd like to hear Sting's point of view. Like, hey, they told me they want to bury me. Like, they told me they want me to look like crap and not be taken seriously. But at the same time, when you look at his age, same with Undertaker, like at some point you have to stop putting over the mid 50-year-old guy.
Right. So I agree from the standpoint you got to look at the source. So Arn Anderson's with AEW right now. He's maybe still sour about how he was let go from WWE. With the whole, I think it was Alicia Fox was inebriated or whatever, but they still let her wrestle. Arn Anderson was like the agent of that particular match. He still let her go out there, and then he was let go. I think that I agree from the standpoint that Triple H needed to win that match for the storyline purposes. But here's kind of piggybacking off that, and this could be another discussion, possibly for a different day, because I mean, a lot of people could have opinions on this. I have my own opinions on it, but if you go back and watch Sting's second, which would eventually be his last match against Seth Rollins, and it was for the title, I think Sting was supposed to win that match. I think they were going to put the belt on Sting as a
one time.
It's just like a quick reign. Potentially also have whoever Money in the Bank was at that time cash in that night on Sting as well. I think it might have been Sheamus. I don't remember that for a fact. Regardless, I think Sting was supposed to win that match. I think it was just going to be a short reign. But it was going to be WWE send-off, their way of saying thank you for what you've done for the business. And regardless how long the reign would have been, it's kind of irrelevant. But obviously Sting takes a buckle bomb from Seth Rollins. It temporarily paralyzes him, basically, to where he can't even run the ropes. He collapses. And it's both have since said, Sting has said that it's not Seth Rollins' fault, it was just a freak accident. And I agree, if you go back and watch, there was nothing odd about the way the move was pulled off. So, but I say that because having Triple H win that match at WrestleMania doesn't make sense unless you try to build Sting back up as this underdog going for the belt. To me, it doesn't make sense that you have him lose both matches without a payoff at the end. Now, maybe there would have been a payoff had he not gotten hurt. Let's say he loses to Triple H. Let's say he loses to Seth Rollins. And then maybe he continues the storyline from an in-ring standpoint. I don't know. But it's a really interesting conversation. Mark says, as a lifelong Sting fan, I felt that they were calling the match as if it was WWF versus WCW. Vince hates anyone and anything he didn't create. Sting was a professional as always and did what was asked of him. Completely agree. I had no fault with how it was called. I guess I'm saying I can see it from Arn Anderson's perspective, and it wouldn't surprise me either way if it was storyline purposes or if it was McMahon trying to bury Sting. I can see it from either direction. The reason I bring up the Triple H winning aspect of it is a lot of people at the time and still now don't agree with the fact that they put Triple H over. I agree with it if it was meant to be a further storyline, whether it was supposed to be Sting winning the belt from Seth Rollins on, I think it was Night of Champions, or if it was, as a further progression of the storyline initially starting with that match with Triple H. So
I think it still goes back to where does Sting stand on it? Because you got to go talk to a lot of these older guys who get the pop when they come out still. Right. They want to – Kurt Angle wanted to lose his retirement match. He wanted to put over other people. A lot of these guys who have been in the business and have been, stars and have had their turn, they're there. They still get the pop. They still get the money. They still get the merch sales. They still get the recognition. They still get taken seriously. And they'll take the L to build somebody. And I respect that. And I think, to me, Sting comes off as one of those guys.
100%.
I think Sting comes off as one of those guys who doesn't care about getting a win in his mid-50s to get some kind of nostalgic pop and some last minute run in his career, versus somebody like, I think Goldberg might be the opposite. I feel like every time Goldberg comes back, he gets a title run. And it's kind of like, I don't know if that's him choosing to do that or what, but it's like at some point, these guys have to realize you're at an age where it just doesn't get believable anymore.
Right.
I would have been okay with him beating Seth Rollins for a quick title run. That wouldn't have bothered me. But I definitely think it catapulted Seth's career. From then on out, Seth's been a top guy since the Sting storyline. I mean, everyone pretty much hated Seth. A lot of his storylines had been kind of subpar, minus the Shield turn. But I think that storyline with Sting's what set him up to be one of those top heels that eventually got over as a face and is who you see today.
Right. Something else I wanted to mention real quick, and then we'll get into the recaps. So this was actually just, at least I saw this morning. I don't know if it was released today or not. So, so the Young Bucks were on this week's episode of AEW's Unrestricted podcast, and something interesting that I wanted to bring up is, they talked about the formation of AEW, their career in general. By the way, shout out to the Young Bucks with my shirt. This was pre-AEW. They were doing the Meltzer driver back in PWG and Ring of Honor, and in my opinion, I love the move. I think it's a fantastic finisher. Anyway, getting off track here. So they talked about Tony Khan having a big plan a plan for a big show in London, England, specifically at the Craven Cottage, which is it's a stadium in London. It's home to the Fulham soccer team, and it could hold about 50,000 people. I don't know about any of you guys. Number one, I don't think that they would have any problem selling out 50,000 seats, because I'm going to piggyback on another story about the Fight TV app. So a lot of people watch AEW through the Fight TV app, and I believe England is one of them. Just 1 second, guys. Our streaming is doing something funky.